Hi, welcome to the transportation meeting for June 16th. We're going to go ahead and get started. Hopefully, the rest of the people will be coming in soon for the meeting. Um, let's do a quick roll call. Um, Ted Blockley,
Here.
Seamus Perry,
Here.
Jim Hale,
Here.
Jeff Bartell, I do not see. Trish Bartell, I do not see. Lynette Tornowski, I see you. Tom Cross, I do not see. And Julia Wallers, I don't see her. She may not be coming. She might be a new member to the committee. We'll see if
And
she's
I'm
able.
here.
Oh, and David, because you're up here as vice chair. Present.
Yes.
Okay, we got that done. Chairperson announcements. I don't really have any transportation announcements, although for those of you who have been following Measure B 26, it does look like that has passed. And that means that the CSD will be acquiring the Sunnyside school site. Um, and yeah, uh, Tom, here comes Tom Cross. Um,
Well, and thanks for all the good work you put into that, Deborah. So that was really
yeah, yeah.
close, but as a success.
It was close, but the coalition worked really hard, and you may have been one of those homes that got a little door hanger on your front door. It said vote 20. I mean, they put out 4,000 door hangers,
Hmm.
and of course there were signs and so forth. So, not to mention standing out front of Ralph's and the farmers market to get signatures. So it was a labor of love, no doubt, no doubt.
Yeah.
Do we have any committee member announcements? Don't see anything, so we'll just keep going on. Other public comments for items that are not on the agenda? Don't see any? Okay, great. Well, John Hall is not here. I don't know if it's because he doesn't have the Zoom link, although I did email him the Zoom link, or maybe he forgot. I don't know. I do have his presentation. I will not do it until the end, just in case he shows up, because he can obviously talk about it better than I. So we'll go on to the traffic calming sign on Petro Road and Rodman. I sent you a picture of that. I know some of you have experienced this. I know Jim and I have, and Ted, because we all live up in Cabrillo. And I thought we might have a little discussion about the installation of this sign and any thoughts you might have about it.
I I I think it's great. I think that it's I think it's useful in a number of, right, obviously places around town. And if it's one of those things that Public Works is willing to do, I would be happy to like point to other locations where we could probably use it. Um, uh, I fundamentally I think the issue with Payco is just that um people I think regardless of the sign or whatever the posted speed limit is, I think people drive as fast as they feel is safe, which is often beyond 35 miles an hour. But like absent some huge traffic calming or, really aggressive kind of infrastructure, I think this is a good first step.
Okay, someone, there we go. Julia's coming. Yes, yes, totally agree. Go ahead. Who else? David?
Dave, yeah. Um, I think I made a similar comment maybe at the LOCAC meeting, but before I moved to Los Osos, I lived in Maryland, and there they use speed cameras, and speed cameras are we hated them because you don't get caught by them, but they're really effective. You only get a ticket once, then you pay attention to them. It doesn't seem like I haven't seen them really in use in California. Maybe I don't know whether the state law is against it or something like that. But I said if you really want to control the speed, a speed camera would do it.
So it is something I'd be really happy to have. They're all over Europe. You go 3 miles an hour over, you can get hammered with that. In California, oh, well, we're going to try this out in Oakland and San Francisco and Los Angeles. And nobody else can do it.
Oh, so we really couldn't do it even if we wanted to?
It's a state law.
That's the state law. State has the jurisdiction apparently, and it's a lot crazy. I don't quite understand why, but that's how it is.
Because they generate a lot of money too. That's the other
Yep.
thing about
Oh,
speed cameras.
it's a tremendous amount, and that would be helpful to the local gendarme.
Yeah, that's for sure. Okay. Well, welcome, Julia. We're talking since John Hall hasn't come in, and it could be because there's an issue with the Zoom link that he's not showing up, but we're talking about the speed sign on
Oh, the new one that the
Rodman.
county, the feedback sign?
Yeah. And I
surprise.
don't know, Julie and I were the ones trying to do the pop-up, and it's my feeling that we had no warning that they were even going to put this thing up. I mean, we just came out of the blue. And
It was like right after we paused the pilot. Like, here
and
you go.
after we tried
Take
to
this.
do the pop-up is when all of a sudden this thing showed up. And really the feeling that we had was that they realized how dangerous it was, that they wouldn't even let us do the pop-up because of the liability, that they realized they had to do something. So it solved the problem coming out of MDO because it does catch your attention and people do kind of tap their brake a little bit there. I've had a number of people say to me, I wish they had put it further up the hill to catch them a little sooner. I don't know why they put it where they did, but it does nothing for the traffic that's coming out of Los Osos and heading up the hill. And that is another area where people speed. So we solved maybe half of the problem with a little bit of traffic calming, but more to be done, I think.
Yeah, I saw it really as a quick fix, just like here's something, because our last conversation was very much about taking a broad corridor level approach to traffic calming from bottom to top of that hill. And that is involved. That involves process, study, design, and this is going to be a longer term thing. But that depends on funding and programmatic capacity. So in the meantime, you can always slap a speed feedback sign, which it can be effective, but it only addressed part of the problem. But I saw it as like a recognition of the problem that we're trying to solve. And no, the crosswalk wasn't going to solve that alone at all. You needed to be coupled with that. But at least this does something. It's just like, all right, let's keep that ball rolling.
And
Right.
the photo you sent with the agenda is a perfect depiction of it was hasty done, since there are two 35-mile-an-hour speed signs showing there, one behind
Right.
the other. They just sort of like, let's do this.
Right.
When they miss the down approach, like the long straightaway, you don't actually see that until you get around the corner, which is past the time where there would have been a crosswalk. You pick up speed coming down, because it's twisty, and then shh. So it's easy to just fly. So I'm curious why they put it around the other side of the corner. It's better than
No.
nothing by all means, but those aren't cheap, those signs. So I'm surprised that they dropped one where they did.
I
the-
think
the last-
that we should do a little investigation and ask Public Works why the sign was put there, who did the analysis, what was behind that.
I don't
I
think there
think
was
that
any
would be a good
analysis.
suggestion, Deborah.
Uh,
Because
uh,
they should have put that sign about 400 yards at least up the road.
Exactly.
And
I have some
You should
positive
see it
feedback
right
about
before
the
you start
location.
going down.
Oh, you do? What's the feedback?
Well, last time I crossed that intersection coming from Rodman, I looked at the sign. I heard a car, looked at the sign, it said slow down. So I'm going like, oh, whoever's coming is going fast.
so the sign actually said slow down.
Oh yeah. Instead of flashing the speed, it said slow down.
Wow, I haven't seen that.
I haven't
Okay,
either.
that's cool.
So
You
you
haven't
get
been
some
going
advance
fast enough.
warning with that location.
All right. Well,
Deb, I have,
anything else on the speed sign that you want to say? Go
yeah,
ahead.
just one more. This may be a sort of moot. It's certainly a moot point for this sign, but I like my concern, I guess, with the sort of things that Public Works does with little sort of notice is I worry sometimes like we're robbing Peter to pay Paul, right? That they're sort of identifying an immediate issue because for whatever reason it's like bubbled up. Whereas like we might sort of have other different priorities, right? And like if it's them just kind of deciding on their own, well, I got an angry email about it, so we're going to put in, Julia, as you noted, right? These are expensive installations, whereas like
And permanent. Like they
we
had to
might,
drill down there. It's
yeah,
hard to,
like
you can't just pick it up.
we might prefer to say, like, we'd love to see whatever 3 stop signs kind of elsewhere in the community. So that's my only kind of cautionary note.
Yeah. They're supposed to do an analysis when they do things like this. And I just don't know that that happened because this happened so quickly after Julie and I tried to do the temporary pop-up
No,
crosswalk.
it was like that same week within a day or two of when we said, okay, we're gonna pause this. Because I was kind of pressing the gas a little too hard. Like, let's just keep this conversation going. Let's not drop momentum. Like, wait a minute, we actually need to know what the capacity is at SlowCog, what our funding is before we keep meeting. And then the sign showed up. Like, well, here's
Yeah.
something. Here's something,
But
guys.
what was interesting is that it actually addressed the problem being not that we needed a crosswalk, the problem is that we needed traffic calming. That was the solution
Mhm.
to the actual problem. The crosswalk, I mean, clearly the problem the county had with us doing the crosswalk is the liability of someone stepping into the crosswalk, feeling like they were safe when
Beats.
they weren't safe because of the speed of the traffic. And that was a point that they made to Julie and I when we were doing this, what do we need to do to get the crosswalk up? And they said, well, sometimes it gives a person a false sense of security because they're stepping into that crosswalk thinking that they're going to be safe when in fact they're not. So, anyway, okay, good suggestions. I'll talk to Public Works. I think, Seamus, that is a good point to make. That, of course, we have areas that we've discussed in the past that we feel are real high priorities. So, something to think about. But they
Yeah,
did something.
and I
So,
guess that I wouldn't want the outcome to be that Public Works feels they need to do a year-long study before doing it. So,
I think we should thank them
it's
for
kind of
it.
how do we get them to have some sort
Yeah.
of communication with us without going into, paralysis
Mhm.
by analysis,
Absolutely. I think we should thank them. Like the door is open.
Yeah.
Like, thank you for putting that in. I just wasn't sure what the inroad or, if that would come from you, Deborah, or someone from LOCAC. Like that's clearly something that's
yeah,
needed. Thank you for recognizing the problem we're trying to solve. Let's keep this conversation
typically,
going.
so in the past, like for instance, when they put the stop signs up on Santa Isabel, it showed up actually on the agenda for the Board of Supervisors on the consent agenda. It had to be approved, which we had had no advance notice of. And so I called Supervisor Gibson and I said, "Hey, where did this thing with the stop sign? Oh, and then they said, oh, we hire an engineer and the engineer does an analysis and this was the analysis. They send it to me and all. So I was like, oh, well, who knew that they went to that level of, detail? And so I fully would expect that something like this would have some kind of technical study done or not. I don't know. I mean, it's just like a mystery to me as to how this thing just showed up. But we'll dig into it a little bit more and learn a little bit in the process. And I will report back. So, John, you found us. We had a problem with our link on the website, and
Yeah,
hopefully you found the email that.
yeah, I saw it pop up. Thanks so much for sending that. I was,
And thank you for showing up. we sort of went on to the traffic calming sign because you were delayed. So now that you're here, I'm so excited to let you do you want to share your screen, and
Yeah,
I'm going
let's.
to make you co-host so that you can um, share with us your project.
All right.
Oh, and just introduce yourself in the process, if you will.
Yeah. Are you guys seeing a screen? All I'm seeing is a Zoom meeting on mine.
I'm seeing,
Like a toolbar,
yeah, like a toolbar.
top of
Okay.
your browser. I think you get
Yeah.
it to shrink your screen down.
I was hoping it would share just the one I was trying to share. Is that showing up for you guys?
Let's see.
There we go.
Okay, great.
Okay, cool.
That's good.
All right. Yeah, so my name is John Hall. I'm the stewardship director for the Land Conservancy, but I also live in Los Osos. I have a first grader here, so I'm been in the community for a long time. And we have a project that the Land Conservancy is starting to work on that I'm kind of excited about, as being a resident. And I wanted to share it with you folks as we're kind of in the early stages of it. So to give you a little background, this map that we're looking here, um, in 2017, we had a donor. That had purchased a piece of property that came on the market, and they specifically were interested in conserving it for Moro shoulder band snail and as a buffer for the Sweet Springs Preserve. And the original arrangement is that the Land Conservancy was going to hold it for 3 years, and then Audubon Society was going to take it over as kind of an extension of the Sweet Springs Preserve. Um, but as we went through that process, Audubon Society realized they didn't have the money to actually manage the property, and so they didn't want to take on more than they could actually manage. And so we ended up holding the property. So now we're starting to move forward with restoring it and doing work ourselves on it. And so we've begun conversations. We're working with U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service to restore the coastal scrub habitat for Moro shoulder band snail. But in the property descriptions, there's restrictions from the property owner, and we're allowed to do improvements on the property as long as it enhances the natural character of the property, and that can include a walking trail, benches, and signage. And so as we were looking at this, we were thinking about, a walking trail that would actually serve the community better than just kind of a start and loop trail from the corner where Sweet Springs is. And so if you look at this map, um, what we realized is, the part of the map you're not seeing up here is where the library is. So if you can see where Farrell is. So from the library, you can go just past the church there. And if you take a right at the last parking lot of the church, which is basically this yellow line at the bottom of the screen, that um, has like a weird little connector over to Farrell where you go through the parking lot and there's almost like an alleyway there that it looks like an established little trail easement. I'm not sure if it is, but that's what it looks like. I was just there tonight and I saw, tons of people using it from that community. And then once you walk through there and you're on Farrell dead ends into our property. And so we thought, hey, if we can build a trail through our property that connects to the corner by Sweet Springs, it would make a lot safer transportation route for people kind of going to and from the community center and from this whole like Monarch Grove side of the community to get down to Baywood. And so we've been trying to figure out how to move that forward. And we've been really fortunate. Everybody we've talked to has been really supportive with this. And so we started off, we talked to 10 Over Studios, and they volunteered to do conceptual designs for us for free. And we, for the ARC surveys, SWCA has somebody in the community, and they offered to do some of the archaeological survey work for us for free. And the Morro Bay Estuary Program has put forward some money to assist us with design and permitting. And so we've had a pre-application meeting with the county, and they definitely mentioned you guys. They said, make sure you reach out to LOCAC as you're going through this process. Um, and we're at the stage where we've been working with the Wallace Group on kind of what the bid would be to do the design and kind of get us through permitting and get us to the point where we have buildable plans that we can cost estimate. And so that's where we are right now. We're a little stuck because their bid came back a little higher than we were hoping for it. We're going to need another $35,000 to do the engineering part because the county's requirements were a little more stringent than we were hoping for. We thought it'd be they'd let us slide a little bit, but there is just some things that they can't get out of given the location of it. And so the vision for us is that this would be like a 5 foot wide trail, so that it meets ADA standards. And so that's wide enough that two wheelchairs can pass each other and still keeps within the natural character description that the person who donated the property wanted for it. Um, we're gonna Right now we haven't decided on the surface material, but right now to kind of keep it natural, we're leaning more towards we probably do class 2 base and then cap it with DG, and the county would like to see us use a stabilized DG to meet those ADA requirements because it'll help with the people slipping on it. And so we're moving along with that. But yeah, that's where we are right now. And let's see, I have another kind of image. There's a different trail alignment that we're working on right now. Let's see if so this is kind of our conceptual design. And so if you look at this is that entrance off of Farrell. Are you guys able to see that okay?
Uh-huh. Yeah.
And so this was kind of the meandering route that kind of followed the natural contours. So it's not necessarily a flat site. And so there's a lot of really cool topography on it. So we tried to meander the trail around to keep our slope at ADA grade without having to do too much digging and grading. And also staying away. We talked to the neighbors over here, and we're trying to stay away from their houses a little bit so they maintain their privacy as well. And then these little dots kind of denote where different signs. These were nice elevated areas where you could actually sit on a elevated bench and get some ocean views. And for people using it, we talked to when I had my meeting with Deborah and David, we were talking about, who would be able to use the trail. The way I see it, we won't I don't want to have gates that I have to open and close. And so policing it's going to be very hard. So I'd like to just start off not putting restrictions on it and just, I'll probably have signs up, like use agreement signs for people to have their dogs on leash. But I don't anticipate being like Sweet Springs and not allowing dogs out there. And I'm assuming that bikes are going to use it, and I don't want to try and keep people on bikes from using it. And I'm hoping the narrower width will maybe slow people down or make some of the kids on e-bikes think about going a little slower. But currently we're hoping that it'll be a kind of a multi-use trail. And I know the question of horses came up, and that'll be more of a question with the engineers on if they're able to stabilize it to handle the weight of it. And yeah, that's kind of all we have right now. We are still in very early stages, and we are open to any funding if anybody wants to help fund this. We're definitely as a nonprofit, they're tight nonprofit years right now, so everything that's happening is happening all on donations right now.
John,
Yeah.
what's your estimated time for completion?
Um, I mean, I have my own. I set my internal target as like my son's in first grade before he goes to Loams. I want him to be able to go to school on this trail. But if we get the funding, then I'd get in. We have to get two more bids because Wallace Group's bid was just high enough with our NEP funding that they were with their procurement policy. If anything over 10,000, we have to get three bids, and so. I want to get three more bids. I'd think it would be like if we get the funding for the design, then I would think it would be like a year of design and permitting, and then going into construction. It could be like the next year. It depends on whose grants we go after and what funding cycle. We had pitched it to the Coastal Conservancy already. At the time, they weren't interested in it. But I've found that with Tim Duff before that he sometimes he's not interested, and that's when we started creating nicer conceptual designs because we realized we weren't telling the story well enough. We're going to try and package it together as a restoration project, so it'll help us get funding because we also want to restore the property as well. It's like most of these properties, we've got some nice habitat, but it's really invaded by veltgrass, and so we're trying to actively work on that.
And then one last question, if I may. So,
Mhm.
because we often get ideas and we get told a number to do a project. I'm just curious if you would be willing to share what you anticipate or estimate the overall cost to be for this entire project.
I don't have that number yet just because we're so early. We've been until I get the confirmation on the exact width and length, then it'll be easier for me to come up with a cost estimate after that, because then I can just, this is an easy one to get a general contractor to let me know what the construction cost will be. But I think the bigger costs will be any unknowns, like if I actually run into real archaeological stuff beyond my memo, then it might cost more. When we were talking to the folks at Audubon from that did the expansion on Sweet Springs, and they said that the county sent them through the ringer, and they had a lot of more permitting costs than they thought. So I think by the time we get into construction, we'll be pretty firm. But I think the lead up to it, it's a little unclear right now on what they're going to hold us to.
Fair enough. Thank you.
Okay, Julia.
Thanks. Yeah, this was awesome. This is the first I've heard about this, and I'm sort of new to town, and I'm thrilled to see some access built into this sort of vague, like gray zone that's a massive swath between major corridors. And I've always wondered, who owns this? Can I be back here? Like I run back here all the time because I drop my kid off at Village, and then
Uh,
often just go into the trails. And I know that's a different parcel, and I need to better study
mhm.
the assessor is like where the lines are, who owns what, but it stands out to me as a missed opportunity for connectivity and to make this an active transportation corridor rather than connecting the road. I mean, that's okay, that's one way to go, but there is a big gap in access that would really dramatically improve the connectivity of the town. So I'm really glad to see this happening and hope that we can get behind it and whatever you need to do to frame it as restoration. I mean, it is, but like really it's a mobility connection that's going to add a lot of value. So I'm really
Yeah.
excited about this. And for the library too, like it just there's this random sort of gap that this would
Yeah.
be filling.
Yeah. Julia is new, and uh, this committee, and I shared this with John, has been looking to make this connection for years. We actually had planned this parcel that John's talking about is fenced off. But adjacent to it is private property, and we've talked to that property owner about trying to put a path through there coming off of Palisades, which it would be a much longer trail than this one. And this trail fills the need, and it does it in a much simpler way than what was going to be necessary for us to try to do it. So um, just you guys are like the first people to hear about this. This has been totally under the radar and on the QT through the Land Conservancy. And I heard about it and I said, I really want to share it with my transportation committee. I will be bringing it to the council next week. And John, if you want to come and do this presentation for the council next Thursday at 6:30, then I will have you on the agenda again. But this is a very, very big deal and very exciting. And whatever it takes to get this done, we're going to get behind it. And what I love is that Julia mentioned active transportation. John, have you looked at getting funding through an active transportation grant?
I have not yet.
So something worth exploring. There used to be quite a
Mhm.
bit of money from the California state active transportation. It's, not as much anymore um, because everybody's budget is, they're all cutting back. But there could be opportunity there as well, um, since you're making it, really address both pedestrians and bicycles and things like that. So,
Remind
Lynette,
me
I
who
know
owns
you're,
this parcel? Did I miss that? It's a different, I didn't realize it's a different parcel than the big swath that I know is privately
Mhm.
held, but kind of accessible at the
Yeah,
same time.
it's right next to the big swath,
Yeah.
but it's
That's fine.
fenced off.
Okay. And
So
it
you
is
can't
private
actually get on
or is it
there.
a public parcel?
The one that you run on?
No, this one here. What's the ownership?
Oh, the one I'm talking about today.
Yes.
Land Conservancy owns it.
Oh, the Land Conservancy owns it.
Yeah.
Okay. Sorry, I missed that part.
Yeah. Lynette.
First of all, thank you very much for a great presentation. That was really interesting. And I'm just curious, what are those two little black rectangles that are into the property? What does that symbolize?
It's a weird little relic of the parcels. So somehow that's in the parcel maps, but it's all one parcel, but it just has these weird little things on the county's parcel data.
Thank you.
Yeah, it doesn't necessarily mean anything. So the property we used to call it because the donor wanted to be anonymous. And so for a long time in our organization, it was called the Ramona Lot because it's on Ramona Street, which isn't that nice of a name for a place. So we've been calling it the Quail Hollow Preserve because if you guys go down along that road by Sweet Springs, you'll notice that there's like all these little pieces of wood on the curbs that all the community has been putting there so the little baby quails can like get up the curb so they don't get stuck. But there's all kinds of quail there, and so that's kind of why we called it the Quail Preserve. And we've been talking to the local tribe, Yaktichu Tichu Yaktahini, about this project too, and they're kind of working with their language committee, and so we're hoping that they'll allow us to use. They have a really cute word for quail trail in their language that we were hoping they'd let us use on this, so we can have some of their language out here, since there's so much of their sites and resources all around here.
Is it a play on the rail trail?
Huh?
Is it a play on rail trail?
Rail trail. It's like
Rail trail, quail trail.
the quail trail.
I like it.
Yeah, and their name for quail, I think it's Koqui. Like most of their names sound like the sound that the animal
Because there
makes.
really is that little quail crossing sign over
Yeah.
there.
Uh-huh.
It's so cute.
It's really just so exciting that we've been wanting this connection for so long, and all of a sudden, it just our needs are meeting, your Land Conservancy needs, the donor needs, um, and the community needs are coming together in a really cool way. So we couldn't be more excited. If you've never been on Farrell, it's a super quiet street. Like it's just a dead end street. It's not much going on down there. So it's pretty safe for people walking or riding a bike. And then if you go back to the map you had, John, your first slide. So just as you come across from the church, you cross the parking lot and then there's this alley. I did go walk it and it is there. And it's very accessible. And then if you just go a little ways on Farrell to the right is a multi-purpose side trail that the CSD put in, and it goes over to 7th Street. So not only would this trail connect you to the library and the community center and the community park and the skate park, but if you went the other way towards 7th, you would be able to access the commercial part of Los Osos. Carlox, Starbucks, all of those things. So yeah, you would be able to connect over there in that direction. So I mean, just it's a great location, and already there's lot of things in place that you can see this larger piece of property. Here's the trailer park, right? And then that other piece of property that's all open is a 50-acre parcel owned by the Kersey Group, and they're a developer, and they actually own just a tiny strip of road that would connect to Ramona. The trailer park owns an additional 10 acres that they're going to build out more of their homes, trailer homes. So between the Land Conservancy property and the trailers, there's just enough room for the Kersey group to build a road and an ingress and egress to their property. So that's where we were going to come. We were going to come off of Palisades and do this long trip, but you can see this area where there's a lot of trees. That's a really low-lying area. It's got water. Those are willows, and we would have had to actually cross that somehow, and it wasn't going to be that easy. So we're really glad we're really glad this project solves all of those problems for us. So, any more questions for John? Any other comments? All right, great.
All right, thank you,
Well,
guys. Deborah, sorry,
Exciting.
I'm on vacation next week. I'll be up in Mono Hot Springs with no reception, so I won't be.
Okay, well, I have this this presentation in my on my computer. Would you mind if I shared it with the council?
No, go. Yeah, that would be great.
Yay! I know they'll be very excited about it.
Yeah.
So, okay, cool.
Yeah, just
All right.
make sure you let them know that the estuary, Morro Bay Estuary Program is contributing funding for it.
All right, let me write that down.
Currently, they're our only funders, so I want to give them big props. They've been very supportive every time we've asked them for money on this one.
We'll do a little investigation into active transportation funds.
Yeah, that'd be great. Yeah, anything you come across that you think would be a good grant source, you can send it our way.
Will do. Okay. Well, we just have one thing left on our agenda, and that is the Kittical Mass Los Osos. I have, let me,
Let's see.
there we go. Okay, let me share my screen and show you this. So you may recall that we did a very cool, let me do that. We did a bicycle rodeo not too long ago up at Sunnyside School. It was a huge success. Julie was there. She was really, running it along with Jessica Crutchfield. And it was so much fun that they said, well, let's do another one. This one is called Critical Mass Los Osos. It's a family bike ride through the streets of Los Osos. I included the a little, I don't know if this is actually the map of what they're going to do, but it was the tentative map. Julie, do you know if that's what they're going to do?
Nothing has been finalized, but it's just a very short,
Yeah,
like flat
Pasadena.
stroll. That's why
It's
we
like
chose Baywood.
Pasadena
Yeah, it's
coming
only,
back on.
yeah, not a bike rodeo at all, really, just a group, just a family ride.
It's
To
just a
build
family
culture and
ride.
get people together. No safety course or instruction, a little bit of like prep at the beginning, but just a way to get people out on the street, enjoying the day and building community through riding bikes.
Yeah. So that's happening on Saturday, the 27th at 10 a.m. You meet at the Baywood Pier. And hopefully we'll do more. And I want to shout out to Seamus because Seamus had an idea quite a while ago. What if we, in the summer months, closed off Second Street and made it pedestrian bike friendly during the Monday during farmers market? Seamus, did I get that all right?
Yeah, I think that's right.
It's what we talked about, right? And how cool would that be? During the summer when kids are out of school, and then we would expand that sort of walkable, rideable space around the farmers market and make it super family friendly. So, this little group bike ride on a Saturday will be, I think, a little bit of a test about to see how many people would be interested in participating in group rides down there. And if it's successful, even if it's not successful, we can still get some feedback as to, how well that might be received in terms of expanding more the walkable space, the rideable space, and probably not every Monday, certainly not when school's in session, but in the summer months when school's out, it might be a kind of special thing that Los Osos would have. So, any thoughts on that? Comments, ideas?
I would just draw a point of distinction between the Critical Mass ride and what I think Seamus was proposing for a shared street, sort of open streets event extension, because it wouldn't be a ride, it's just an open shared space, which then pulls in implications for access and circulation and security and parking, which can become complicated and easily squashed. So it's important to have a well thought out vision that is a lot more complicated than doing the ride, right? Because we're not closing access to anybody. We're not involving security detail. Critical mass is just you get a big mass of kids and people riding that's inherently safe. And I like the idea of extending the street closure, or I prefer to say, sorry, my son's here. I'll be right down. The open street mentality, right? Rather than closing the street, we're actually opening the street. I think it would just require some thought and outreach to the businesses because this is a very big day for them. And to open the street to bike and pedestrian, does that involve closing it to parking? And that's going to raise eyebrows. And we need to make sure that we approach that thoughtfully and with sensitivity. And it might not be the right thing to do at this time, and maybe it is. Maybe it's one side, maybe it's just a little swath of it. It's just going to raise some flags for circulation access and the almighty parking, which can squash a project like that if you don't approach it.
Yep. And parking is the big issue down there.
Yeah.
And that is something that there's a project on the corner of Second Street and Santa Maria that is asking for some special parking. And we are sort of shepherding that project through and asking for a special parking district in Baywood with maybe additional parking allowed. So we are really looking at the parking issues around farmers market and on the weekend when we're getting more and more tourists. Maybe we don't close off Second Street. Maybe we close off more of something else. So but I like the idea of sort of expanding that footprint of opening up the street to more people. Honestly, if you go down there, Jim and I were down there on the weekend when it was sort of a pride thing was going on. People were walking
Weirwood.
in the middle of the
Yeah.
street,
Yeah, it's
all over.
fabulous. I wonder if the direction towards Wild as Heck would be the way to go, so as to not restrict all the angle parking that is really jammed during the parking during the farmers market. And I just know that that would be unnerving for the businesses if we were to restrict vehicular access to the swath of street parking in front of High Street Deli and such. But the other direction, what if it was just that? Of course,
Yeah,
then the
I
bus
mean, it's just
service as
something for us
well,
to
so
think
there's all
about.
these things to think about.
When I think about this bike group ride, uh, I see there's so many people that they're kind of taking over the street from the cars. Like the cars now have to slow down and the car has to move over and get out of the way because the kids and their families on the bikes are taking over the streets. And so that's how I think about that in terms of, well, let's see how this goes. Let's see if people get used to being able to get on their bikes and bike all around down in Baywood, that they might say, well, we want more of that. We'll see.
Okay, you're feeding the appetite a little bit and see how
Yeah.
it goes.
Any suggestions or any other comments about group rides or closing off streets,
My
working
only
on the parking?
concern about closing off streets um, on busy times is you is as Julia said, the all-powerful parking, but for some people with disabilities, it isn't an option to be able to walk a distance. And so I think one of the things we have to bear in mind is that if you close off one side of the street, how do we uphold sort of the ADA needs in the meantime?
All good points. So we need to think this out very carefully. But I'm excited to have this event and see who shows up, and we will report back to you and let you know.
Or you
Okay.
could just come.
Everybody here will be on their bike, right?
Well, I don't have a bike, Jim Hale.
We have a
Oh
bike
my
for you.
gosh.
We can find a bike for you. There's 3 downstairs.
Jim has a whole bunch of bikes.
But
So
there's
We have
a lot
I
plenty
think
of
you'll be
bikes.
okay. But I'm just saying everybody on this group should get out that bike and come be part of the Kittico Mass because we're all kids at heart when you're on a
Yeah.
bike.
Well, and
Oh, I
part of
love
it is also
that.
just the gathering, like ice cream afterwards, play at the pier. It's just community cohesion. Bikes just happen to be a tool to do that taps into mobility, but it's not really about having to have a bike.
Oh, I disagree.
I mean, that's taking it to the next level, but you want to be exclusive, right? Like
That's
just come
right.
out. Enjoy streets as
Ted,
public spaces.
It's fun to
Ted,
go
I see your
fast.
hands up. Go
That's
ahead,
right.
Ted.
Oh, I just this just sounds so wonderful. It's great. And Baywood really does need a parking district. And that's between the farmers market being as big as it is, something should be done to sort of enhance that.
Well, the property owner, Alex Benson, who has that corner on Santa Maria and Second Street, literally owns that entire block. He owns the hotel and almost everything. There's like, I think, one building that he doesn't own. And he's very, very, very much in favor of supporting a parking district and creating additional parking and that kind of thing. And then on the other side of the street, where you have Mirazur and, the Thai, most of that is owned by somebody else. That used to be Bill Lee, but then that got sold to a guy out of Santa Barbara. So we really only need to get a few people to say, yeah, we want this, and we should be fine. So I've been in multiple conversations with Supervisor Gibson. He's been in talks with the Public Works about creating the parking district. We are wanting to establish angle parking as the standard down there. Right now, they say the standard is parallel parking, which, really doesn't work for us because we don't have that much room. Um, so I'll keep you posted with how that goes, but the conversation is ongoing. There is that particular building is on appeal and has a hearing in September 1, and we hope to have something positive on the parking issue before that.
Excellent. And I have one other parking related question in Baywood. Uh, there next to Nardone's corner, there's a casita that's been parked there for decades, if I can judge by the lichen. Does anybody know anything about that?
No, but I've seen it and wondered the same thing, Ted, because every time I walk by, it's still there.
It's a lichen experiment at this point.
And there are a few other empty lots in the general area, which I assume people aren't able to build on. I think there may be they're up on this maybe Second Street, maybe on the other side of San Isabel. But I'm wondering if, it seems like if you could make some arrangement where you pay the owners of those lots something to be able to use it for extra parking for things, but they're not getting anything out of the lots currently.
Interesting. Well, since John's here, perhaps you might want to comment on the fact that right now any undisturbed land is considered habitat. And if people started parking on there, would that somehow change that or cause a problem? Do you have any idea?
Yeah, like if you started parking on a lot that had native vegetation on it, or just vegetation in general.
Yeah, I mean, it would depend on the lot, right? So if it's just vegetation in general,
Yeah, I mean, the word from Fish and Wildlife Service is that every open lot is potential snail habitat because they can only live in our little Baywood fine sand soils here. And then that's the ruling that the Coastal Commission has been going with as well. Um, but yeah, unless you thought you were going to smash snails, they're kind of they hang out in the clumps of those grasses. But if you had a lot that didn't have vegetation on it, then I don't think that you'd be impacting anything.
okay, good information. Yeah.
During the sewer, they used to think they only hung out in the native coastal scrub, and then when they were doing the sewer construction, they realized that the snails hung out everywhere, and they really like the invasive veld grass and the ice plant. And they kind of hunker down in the roots, and so it makes it a little tricky because you just don't know where they're going to be.
Okay. All right. Yeah. Yeah, the Land Conservancy is doing the mitigation for the habitat conservation plan. And so I kind of figured you'd have some insight into that.
Oh,
So,
what's doable for, yeah, I mean, anybody that wants to develop something, they'll be able to buy into the county's HCP. And they're slowly releasing credits. The first kind of round of credit should be coming soon. And it was doing a restoration project to remove all those eucalyptus as you're coming into Montana de Oro. If you guys noticed when you used to go into the park, it was all eucalyptus trees there. So we took all of those out this year to restore the habitat for the endangered Moro manzanita plant. And then that's supposed to release their first kind of round of credits.
and you also did some work down here at Monarch Grove, right? Wasn't there some clearing done there?
That wasn't us.
Oh, that was fire.
Yeah.
Okay.
So no credits for that.
No credits. Okay. Well, as you say, they're coming very slowly.
Yeah,
Um,
they were the underfunding, they would be coming faster, but because the Board of Supervisors didn't give the building planning and building department enough money to implement the HCP. They're kind of stuck with this small loan, so they're trying to get things done, but they don't have enough money to do kind of what they needed to do.
And you know what? That needs to change. We need to ask for them to fund that. So that'll come up in the general meeting. I intend to bring it up. So, but interesting idea about Ted. You have your hand up. Go ahead. Oh, you're muted.
I forgot to bring it down.
Oh, okay. I thought you put it up again. Yeah. So yeah, that's a problem. But using an empty lot to park your cars, I mean, they kind of do that already.
Well, but we're losing that one space at Santa Maria and Second, right, where the project is going. That was one of those spaces that people were parking with informally.
Yeah. Yeah. Yep. So, all right. Anything else anybody needs to bring up? Well, I thank John for coming and sharing this project. We could not be more excited about this. It's feels very satisfactory to be involved with something that's going to make such a difference in our community. And thanks all the people here on my committee for showing up tonight. I swear to you, the link is going to get fixed. They told me it was going to be fixed already and clearly didn't happen tonight, but we're going to get a whole new website and I think that'll fix it. So, all right.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Meet-
Thank you.
With
Meeting-
everyone.
Bye, you guys.
Thank you.